Earth's atmosphere weighs over 5 quadrillion tons and is driven by absolutely relentless laws of physics and chemistry. Most of the time, this invisible engineering keeps the world working predictably. But when pressure, temperature, and isolation reach extreme limits, the planet creates scenarios that seem to shatter the very logic of reality. There are places where water petrifies flesh within weeks, where fire burns with an electric blue light in the deep darkness, and where the sky itself seems to collapse into colossal pockets. Faced with these violent spectacles, our ancestors didn't see science, they saw sorcery, occult rituals, and the herald of the end of the world. But the truth is, nature doesn't need spells to challenge our sanity. It uses pure mechanics. Welcome to Nature's Top 10. Today, we are going to explore the 10 darkest, most bizarre, and inexplicable natural phenomena on the planet. And our journey begins at the very top, looking at a thermal anomaly that transforms the calm of the sky into one of the heaviest and most disturbing sights in meteorology.
For most of us, looking up at the sky brings a sense of vastness and calm. But on rare occasions, the atmosphere deforms into a heavy structure, creating gigantic pockets that seem to inflate and hang toward the ground. To anyone watching from below, the impression is immediate. It looks as though the ceiling of the world is about to collapse. For centuries, the appearance of these suspended spheres was interpreted as a divine sign of impending catastrophe, a physical manifestation of nature's wrath. Yet, the mechanics behind this architectural apocalypse involve no mysticism. They involve a radical inversion of fluid dynamics. While most clouds form as air rises and cools, Mammatus clouds are born from the exact opposite process. They emerge when cold air, saturated with heavy ice and water, begins to sink rapidly through a layer of drier air beneath a colossal thunderstorm. This descending air pushes the base of the cloud downward, sculpting these perfect pockets through an invisible battle of density and gravity. It is a brutal piece of thermal engineering that lasts only a few minutes before dissolving. But while these rounded shapes in the sky emerge and vanish with the wind, on the ground of the oldest desert in the world, thousands of perfect circular shapes appear in the earth and remain there for decades, defying scientists without yielding any obvious answers.
In the Namib Desert, the sandy soil hides a geometric anomaly that has baffled science for generations. Viewed from above, thousands of perfectly clean, circular clearings bordered by rings of dense vegetation dot the landscape like surgical scars on the earth. With no trees or terrain features to justify the pattern, local legends spoke of the footprints of gods or earth poisoned by divine breath. The mathematical precision of these shapes in the middle of nowhere seems to defy the randomness of nature itself. Behind this optical illusion, however, lies a ruthless engineering of underground survival. Recent studies have revealed that the circles are the result of a silent war for water. Desert vegetation self-organizes into geometric patterns to maximize the capture of scarce moisture. Larger plants suck water from the center, leaving the core completely sterile, while the outer ring of grass catches the runoff. This dynamic system is further optimized by the mechanical work of sand termites, which clear roots in the center to create underground water reservoirs. It is the pure mathematics of scarcity sculpting the Earth's surface. But while survival in the desert forces nature to create rings of bare, dry earth, on an isolated island in Australia, water chose to completely shatter the planet's visual playbook, adopting a hue so aggressive it looks entirely artificial. Viewed from a flight over the coast of Western Australia, Lake Hillier violently disrupts the Earth's natural color palette. Hidden in the middle of a densely forested island, this body of water exhibits a bubblegum pink hue so solid and opaque it looks as though it was artificially filled with acrylic paint. Even if you collect the water in a glass container, the color remains intact. To the early navigators who mapped the region, that basin looked like a toxic anomaly or the result of an alien chemistry operating in secret. The explanation for this surreal visual, however, lies not in a mineral spill, but in a microscopic biological armor. The lake has a salinity level nearly as high as the Dead Sea, creating a lethal environment for most living things. To survive this crushing osmotic pressure, single-celled organisms known as Dunaliella salina colonize the water, producing carotenoid pigments to shield themselves from extreme solar radiation. Combined with colonies of halophilic archaea in the salt crust, these microbacteria turn the lake into a natural chemical reactor. The pink color isn't an aesthetic quirk, it is the visual byproduct of an extreme cellular engineering. But while in the depths of this lake survival manifests as a static, glowing color, in the atmosphere, the buildup of raw energy can materialize ghostly blue flames on the tops of masts and mountains without a single drop of fuel to burn. During the Age of Discovery, few phenomena struck as much psychological terror into sailors as St. Elmo's fire. In the middle of violent storms at open sea, ghostly blue and green flames would materialize out of nowhere, dancing on the tips of ship masts. To crews isolated in the pitch black, those cold lights looked like a supernatural warning that the vessel had been marked by occult forces, or that spirits were walking the deck. The fact that the fire did not burn the wood and resisted the pouring rain made the scene even more bizarre. What the sailors were witnessing, however, was not sorcery, but the birth of atmospheric plasma. During a thunderstorm, the massive electrical potential difference between charged clouds and the ground creates a crushing electric field. When this field concentrates on sharp, pointed structures, like a ship's mast or a mountain peak, it tears electrons away from the surrounding gas molecules. This process ionizes the air, converting invisible gas into a conductor of electricity that emits a blue-violet glow. It is the exact same physics engineering that makes neon lights glow, operating raw and monumentally in the middle of the ocean. But while ionizing energy in the atmosphere draws static lines of fire in the air, in the skies of Scandinavia, the darkness takes on a life of its own through millions of organic shapes moving so fluidly they look like a single conscious entity. In the skies of Denmark during spring and autumn, the horizon is swallowed by a phenomenon that seems to defy the laws of biology. Millions of dark silhouettes swarm the atmosphere, creating colossal, fluid, and shifting shapes that completely blot out the sun. From a distance, it looks as though a dense, intelligent smoke is controlling the air, or a shapeless, titanic creature is writhing in the sky. This dark spectacle, known locally as Sort Sol, evokes the image of a supernatural force taking control of the weather. Behind this hypnotic dance, however, operates one of the most refined collective engineering feats in the animal kingdom. This is the mass migration of starlings. When predators like falcons attack the flock, the birds do not scatter, they tighten their ranks. To avoid collisions at incredible speeds, each bird instantly monitors and reacts to the movements of its 7 closest neighbors. This biological fluidic dynamics creates mechanical propagation waves in milliseconds, generating a visual barrier that completely blinds and confuses the predator's optical system. What looks like mystical chaos is in reality pure geometric mathematics applied to survival. But while this living smoke dissolves in the air within minutes,
In the heart of the Sahara Desert, the Earth has sculpted a permanent geometric structure so colossal and perfectly circular that it defies all terrestrial logic.
Isolated in the middle of the arid vastness of Mauritania lies a centric structure of such gigantic proportions that it can only be fully comprehended from outer space. Spanning nearly 50 kilometers in diameter, the Richat structure, popularly known as the Eye of the Sahara, looks like a surgical scar or a mystical fingerprint carved into the bedrock. When early astronauts first spotted it from Earth's orbit, the sheer perfection of its concentric rings was so absurd that many believed it to be the impact site of a titanic meteorite or the circular ruins of the mythical city of Atlantis. The mechanics behind this impossible design, however, came not from deep space, but from a failed magmatic intrusion. Over 100 million years ago, bubbling magma pushed the Earth's crust upward, creating an immense dome of rock. Over time, the pressure subsided, and the ceiling of this bubble collapsed inward. The relentless work of erosion and wind over eons shaved away the surface layers, exposing the edges of harder quartzite rocks in perfectly symmetrical rings. It is the skeleton of a mountain that collapsed from the inside out. But while geological engineering in the desert creates sterile, dry rings of stone, in the depths of East Africa, there is a body of water that operates a macabre alchemy capable of instantly turning living biology into limestone statues.
In the arid landscapes of Tanzania, there is a body of water that looks as though it were ripped straight from a mythological tale of cursed lands. Lake Natron exhibits a deep blood-red color, but what truly haunts the world is not its hue. Along its shores, the carcasses of birds and bats are found perfectly preserved, petrified in lifelike positions, as if turned to stone the very instant they touched the water. To anyone observing these macabre sculptures, it feels as though the lake is a living entity that drains the life force of any creature daring to approach. The reality behind this necro landscape, however, is a ruthless chemical trap fueled by volcanic geology. The lake collects water rich in sodium carbonate and other minerals washing down from the neighboring Oldonyo Langai volcano. This compound, known as natron, drives the water's pH to absurd levels of up to 12, making it as alkaline and corrosive as pure ammonia. The water temperature can spike past 60 degrees Celsius. Animals that fall into the lake perish quickly, and instead of decomposing, undergo a process of biological calcification. Their soft tissues are hardened by the minerals, converting decay into an eternal preservation by natural plaster. But while on the shores of this lake, chemistry creates a sterile, deadly calm, on tropical beaches around the world, the ocean uses biology to unleash an electric light show that transforms the darkness of night into a phosphorescent blue glow.
During moonless nights on certain tropical coasts, the ocean seems to break all known laws of optical physics. As waves crash against the sand or boats cut through the water, an intense electric phosphorescent blue glow explodes in the darkness. Every movement in the sea leaves a trail of liquid light that looks like something out of a fantasy movie or a mystical illumination spell. To ancient peoples, these glowing waters were seen as the reflection of fallen stars or the manifestation of sea spirits awakening in the depths. The explanation for this visual miracle, however, lies not in magic, but in an ingenious biochemical defense reaction at the cellular level. This glow is generated by billions of single-celled microorganisms called dinoflagellates. When the water around them is agitated by the movement of waves or a predator, the mechanical stress opens ion channels in their membranes, triggering a reaction where the enzyme luciferase oxidizes a protein called luciferin.
This process converts chemical energy directly into light energy with nearly 100% efficiency, creating what science calls cold light, which emits no heat. It is a biological alarm system designed to startle predators, operating like an organic electrical circuit. But while in the ocean, the movement of water generates a cold, living blue light. On the rocky walls of a valley in California, sunlight aligns so geometrically with the terrain that it creates the perfect illusion of a cascade of fire and molten lava where there is only pure water.
For 2 weeks in February, photographers and enthusiasts from all over the world crowd into Yosemite National Park, their eyes locked onto the sheer rock face of El Capitan. Around sunset, what should be an ordinary waterfall undergoes a startling mutation. The water plummeting down the mountain seems to turn incandescent, morphing into a torrent of liquid lava and molten gold streaming down the dark cliffside. The optical illusion is so intense that the mind refuses to accept that this mountain isn't an active volcano spewing destructive magma over the forest. The mechanics behind this spectacle are a matter of perfect geometric synchronicity between astronomy and geology. For the fire to come alive, the sky must be completely clear and the sun must hit a specific millimeter-precise angle during twilight. When these factors align, the sun's rays strike the water at a narrow, oblique angle, causing the waterfall's mist and droplets to reflect only the red and orange wavelengths of the light spectrum. The surrounding dark rock acts as a high-contrast canvas that amplifies the glow. There is no heat and no combustion. It is simply sunlight being filtered and channeled by the Earth's terrain like a monumental prism. This thermal illusion relies entirely on a trick of light to pretend it's fire. Our number one spot, however, needs no optical tricks. In the depths of Indonesia, physics and chemistry discarded all illusions to unleash real rivers of electric blue flames flowing through the darkness. In the bowels of Indonesia, the Kawah Ijen volcano hides the closest thing to a mythological underworld you can find on Earth. When night falls over the crater, the darkness is ripped apart by rivers of electric blue fire streaming down the rocky slopes, with flames shooting up to 5 meters high. The visual is so aggressive and alien, it looks like the product of unholy alchemy or a supernatural energy leak bleeding straight from the planet's core. Yet, this terrifying visual signature is the result of a violent chemical reaction under extreme heat. The volcano expels massive amounts of high-pressure sulfuric gases through cracks in the rock at temperatures exceeding 600 degrees Celsius. The moment this ultra-hot gas makes contact with the oxygen in the outside air, it instantly ignites. Sulfur burns with an intense blue flame due to its molecular structure. Part of this gas condenses into liquid sulfur while still ablaze, creating the illusion of blue lava flowing down the mountain. This isn't black magic, it is the chemistry of elements at their most hostile and raw. Our journey through the planet's hidden engineering ends here. If you enjoyed uncovering the science behind the impossible, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next countdowns. Drop a comment below. Which of these phenomena would you have sworn was witchcraft if you saw it in person? Share this video with that one friend who loves a good mystery, and see you next time.